We continue on with this meditation study and practice. The I wanted to start with a story. It's an often told story. You might have heard it before, but it was one about a monk that was decided to meditate by a lake on a full moon night. And as he sat down, he put his robe and his slippers right by him. And a thief came by and saw the robe and the slippers and took them and began to walk away while the uh, the um, uh, master was meditating. And in that moment, the master said, "I only wish I could give him this moon." And this is very, very important because it is this desire or interest that is critical in our practice. We don't sit to meditate for ourselves. We sit to obtain an introspection, an understanding of the true nature of mind. And once doing that, we have an interest in passing that on to others. Sometimes when you practice some skill like martial arts or Chi Gong, people would withhold the essence of the practice, because if they told their student, then their student would know what they know. Quite to the contrary, in Chan practice, we wish that the student will exceed the master, and we do everything that we can to try to get you to do that, and to present a class, for instance, in meditation. Is very easy for me to do something and just say it by the numbers, but Chan is very spontaneous. Chan is something that it changes from moment to moment in terms of how we do things, but the essence of it is to try to get the student further along in the practice to obtain realizations. And so it is this and I'm talking to a lot of you who are going to be future teachers or are teachers now, that you have to understand that it is this way that the spirit that we have, that we present a lecture. It's very easy for me to present a lecture to you and talk for an hour, but to talk for an hour to give you something that's really of essence, this takes time. It takes a lot of time to do that. And I want you to understand that when you talk to people, have patience. When you practice to talk to people, have patience. Try to give them the moon. Don't try to give them what they already know, because it's safe. So as you're listening to this, I really want you to try to accept this heart that I'm presenting this information on. And it's very interesting because of the fact that over this past week, I've been getting so many different communications from several of you that something was working in your head. And you've been talking about past, present, and future. It's very interesting because I've seen that in so many private communications, and then also in the in WeChat. I've seen quite a bit about that, and that was what I've been working on all week long. So it's as if you're now some kind of a cosmic osmosis. You Your mind is joining with mine to bring forth this moment that we can talk about this, because it's very, very important in terms of when we meditate, that our mind has to be in the present moment. Now, saying that and saying the present moment, we need to define what the present moment is. Can anybody tell me what you think the present moment means? Anybody? This is a short program, so please respond quickly. You don't have to be right.
Between the past and the future.
And wherein does that lie? Does that lie a minute on each side, a second on each side, a microsecond on each side?
I don't think it can theoretically exist.
Ah, okay. Anybody else? And thank you, Lewis. I appreciate that. He's saying that it couldn't exist. Does that mean that the present, past, and future, neither of them exist, of all those 3 points? Because we always say that you have to be in the present moment when you're meditating. So it's very important to know what the present moment means. I'm taking you, we've already talked two times about meditation. I'm taking you into the deep end now. So please stay with me, because this is something that very kind of funny that when I first started out as a Buddhist, I didn't know what to study. Nobody told me what to study. Only one monk gave me a book, which was the Doctrine of Mere Consciousness, and it was about this thick, and that was my guide. I didn't know anything else. And then later I started studying things, whatever I'd pick up. I didn't even know there was a difference between Theravadan or a Mahayana or a Tibetan Buddhist. I just figured it was all together. And that kind of a naivety that I had served me well, because I read all sorts of different things. One of the first things I read was Nagarjuna and Nagarjuna's refutation. There's various verses of refutation of time and space. And it was interesting to me, but it served me well, and it serves me well to talk to you today about meditation, because we have to be in this present moment when we meditate. But let me talk to you a little bit about Nagarjuna and what he was saying. For those of you who are not familiar with him, he was the main proponent of the Madhyamika school. He's the one that's closely associated with the Madhyamika school and developing of the two truth doctrine, the relative truth and the absolute truth. Sometimes called apparent reality and absolute reality. Apparent reality is all the phenomenal appearances that arise in mind, and the absolute reality is the knowing of how those things arise in mind. But that I'll leave that for a little bit later in my lecture. In the Diamond Sutra, it says, past thoughts are intangible, present thoughts are intangible, and future thoughts are intangible. Wow, right from the very beginning, they're telling you, look around, whatever you see, all of this temporally and in time, it's intangible, meaning that whatever is there is fundamentally empty. It has no time period upon existence. And anything you try to base the mind on, and if you try to base the mind on some kind of a reality in this way, it cannot happen, because it's fundamentally empty. The five skandha, form, sensation, perception, volition, and consciousness, they're empty. And here Nagarjuna is just simply talking about the idea of time, and saying there's no such thing. Please, you contemplate this. This is very powerful, extremely powerful, if you want to pursue a practice in Chan, you have to see this and understand, contemplate this, contemplate present and past and future, and see that there's nothing there. If we try to put it, then it will not work. When I was very young to the practice, I wrote a piece called "Balancing on the Point of a Pin," and talking about the present moment. And as we look at it, in my discussion with Lewis, we find, where exactly can we find that point of the pin to be in the present moment? But when we look at things from apparent reality, from phenomena, and from consciousness, we are unable to define what this means, because our consciousness, our temporal and spatial reality is empty. It is impossible to understand what created it. We understand it, and the Diamond Sutra talks about Dipankara Buddha, predicting Shakyamuni Buddha would be a Buddha in a different lifetime coming. And so how is that possible for him to do that? It's because we don't understand how mind works. It's very interesting in my evening blessings to people, which are all included, but not only are you included, but all sentient beings of the past, present, and future. And I transfer merit to those sentient beings in the past that have already come and gone. Why would I do that? It makes perfect sense to me to do that, to transfer merit, because we do not see how this reality works. It could be, if I transferred merit, I can alleviate some of their suffering, and maybe things that would have happened to them didn't happen to them in the past, that's now the past, because of the transfer of merit, or mitigated some of their karma. See, mind is very, very incredible. Think about that. Transferring merit to those who have already got, because it's non-existent time frame. And if you think in this way, I transfer merit to those whom I may come into contact with in the future. I'm already preparing them by the time I get to talking to them, that I already have a good relationship with them by transferring merit now. This is how mind works. This is the esoteric. You have to contemplate this. So the present moment is not in the manner of that we call temporal, between the past and the future. The present moment is just mind itself, just mind. So when we talk about present moment, Shifu, Master Sheng Yen, used to always say the Buddha is in the present moment. Of course, there's no other time than the present moment. There is no comparative time. It's Buddha time. And so when one sees things in this way, this is a reality and a realization as to how mind works. We're no longer trying to define mind in the context of phenomena. Phenomena cannot know the origins of phenomena, truly know it. It can have an intellectual aspect, which is good. Otherwise, there'd be no purpose in me talking. But what I relate to you is so that you can awaken to this realization of how mind works. This is very, very important that we look at things in this way. When we don't, then we're just stuck in the phenomena and trying to dig through all of the, like digging in the dumpster for this pearl when we already had it in our pocket. So if we understand this, this is very, very important as to how things work. So let me get to Nagarjuna a little bit. I got to be mindful of the time because there's quite a bit to cover today. If I could only put in like all the hours I spent studying and passing to you, I wish I could, but I have to distill it down to what is important for you to hear. So this is Nagarjuna speaking, and this is from the commentary on the Mahaprajnaparamita Sutra. He says, we speak figuratively about time with regard to the arising and ceasing of the five aggregates, the skandhas. And he says, but there is no distinct time that exists with its own identity. Another quote from, he says, if the three times each had their own characteristic, then they should be only the present. This is very important because that's what I was telling you. The Buddha is in the present. And there should not be neither a past nor a future. If the future existed is in the present, it would not be designated yet to arrive. But indeed, it is already arrived, present. If the past has passed, it refutes its own existence. And if the past does not pass, it negates the nature of the past. Likewise, for the future, that is why the time is not real. So when we sit and we sit to meditate, we put ourselves in the present moment. We put the method right there in the present moment, but it's not the present moment that you think. It's not the defining and dividing line between the future and the past. It is just, we rest the mind in this present moment, which is inexhaustible, infinite. There is no place this way or that way. It is all contained in mind, in this container that if we tried to find the border of it, it would be impossible. It's infinite. There's no way out of mind. We should not be trying to find the way out of mind. We have to find the way out of apparent reality as to the phenomenal existence and as to this confusion that we have, this ignorance that we are a separate being, separate and apart from everyone else. We're not in this way. What we want to do is dissolve this notion of an ego, a personality, or a life and being, as the Diamond Sutra says, and simply there's what's called self-absorption in the sutra. And the self-absorption on one side is the eradication of the notion that there is someone sitting and meditating. And self-absorption is allowing the self-nature to absorb the phenomena. This is important because when we absorb the phenomena, we don't have to worry about extraneous thoughts that are coming up in the mind that vex us when we're meditating. They're perfectly there. We don't have to do anything with them. We just have to sit. We can sit there. It would be like so foolish, like saying, I want to see the sky, and all of these stars are affecting my ability to see clearly. They're precisely where they should be in the firmament. They are there, perfectly placed everywhere. But we see them and then we make animals out of them. Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, little bear, right? Even the Big Dipper and whatever we see, Orion's belt, because we see it from the perspective of a human sentient being looking up at the sky. But when we practice properly, you can hold the entire galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, in the palm of your hand. You can see that all of the galaxies in this universe are all spiraling and rotating perfectly in accordance with causes and conditions. We can see that in a tiny atom, and how everything is moving in the atom and beyond the atom. This is mine. It doesn't have a length, a magnitude. You just, when you sit, you rest in this and let the self nature of mind absorb you. So how do you do that? You stay in the present moment. When you're staying in the present moment, remember, this is not the present moment of a sentient being. Present moment is you are staying in mind. It's timeless. If you're sitting there and going, I've been sitting here for 20 minutes, that all you're doing is reinforcing habitual patterns. You let that go. You say, that was habitual tendencies. Let it go. And you go back to what you're doing. There's no problem with that. You don't have to worry. You don't have to go around with a a pen and start trying to erase all the stars in the firmament, black them out. All you would do is end up in a dead samadhi. You don't want to do that. There's no reason to make those things disappear. They're there in accordance with Pratika Samappada. So Pratika Samappada doctrinally is essential to develop the proper platform to sit. And there's two parts of Pratika Samappada that apply. The first one is that everything that's appearing in mind at that moment is appearing precisely because it is a condition of a previous cause. So we do not have to get frustrated that some thought came up in mind. The other aspect of Pratika Samappada is that we know that if we practice, if we hold the method, if we do it impeccably, it will bring about a realization. Not necessarily has to be sitting on the cushion, but it is our tuning of the mind, putting us in the same resonance as mind itself that enables us to do this. Shifu, he said something like that once, and it kind of surprised me because I thought at that time, wow, that's very much like a Chi Gong type of a thing. He talked about that we have to be in the same resonance, but it makes sense. It is the resonance of mind. And even the ancients had a word for it. Does anybody know what the word is? I've told you before. Nobody know what the word is. Put it this way, does anybody know what the sound is?
Om. O-M. Om.
Oh, that's it, Robert?
No, it sounds better than that.
Oh. That one? That's the resonance of mind. And everything is that way. Sometimes I talk about that it's not that we walk around in the key of life in terms of a song. The song of mind is the song of awakening. And everything is in that key. Everything that you see, no matter what, pardon me, but if a dog goes to the bathroom on a lawn, it's in the key of mind. If a flower blooms, it's in the key of mind. You see, but if I just say pretty things, then you'll become confused. Then you'll go outside and think that the clouds and the flowers are the only things that are in the key of mind. Everything happens in accordance with what happens. If the dog eats food, naturally the dog cannot just keep all of that in their body. It has to go. And same here with us. Whatever we do, whatever we have, whatever foul thoughts we have, whatever wonderful thoughts, we have to let them go. There is no discrimination in mind. Discrimination is, in accordance with Samappada, a habitual pattern to maintain the idea that we have a separate life and being. My problems, my misery, my bill, my whatever that you have, no. But when we awaken, we understand this body is useful. This mouth is useful. This thinking process is useful. It is something that we can use, not just for our benefit, but for the benefit of everyone. Not bad. So we talked about Nagarjuna, and unfortunately, I don't want to get too stuck with that. I wish I could go on with that, but that's not what our class is about today. Give me 1 second. I think the neighbor is doing some sawing. I don't want to interfere with it. Sorry about that. Okay, let's continue on. I had talked about from before, Shifu had said that the mind is the hub in which all dharmas, the spokes, revolve around. And this is kind of this idea that when we sit to meditate, we have this present moment there. And this present moment, then all the dharmas, just like stars in the firmament, are moving around it. But we keep our attention on the method. I also, we talked a little bit about this, from that the mind perception is different from the five skandha perception. Five skandha perception relies on the belief that form, sensation, perception, volition are real. When we see them as empty, then the mind perception sees that and maintains the function that's at hand without worrying about anything of those types of things that in the five skandha. It utilizes those. It doesn't negate them, but it utilizes them without creating a life and being or an ego. When we sit to meditate, you should not have ego. You should not have I am thinking of the method. What's important about this as well is that Because if we meditate from the idea of the ego cannot know mind. We have to make a choice, you know. You go, do I want this or this? So you have to put down the ego in order for the mind to manifest, because the ego is like a cataract that's in your eye and occludes the mind. You cannot see how pristine and clear the mind is because of this ego. And so the ego is like somebody, have you ever been somewhere where somebody is holding something and they go, oh, this is so precious, I want to show you. And then people get in front of you to see it. And all you can see is the back of their head, right? And that's what you're doing when you're meditating. All you can see is the back of the head of the ego, because the ego is blocking it. You can't see it, so you have to put the ego down. You have to learn to be in the present moment without thought, and again, Wu Yen here is without thought. It's meaning that you're not producing thought via the skandha. The mind has its awareness. This is important. We're going to be talking about that in a moment as well. But we have to see where we're going. Okay. So I talked about that. We don't sit with this idea of subject-object meditation. What we do is we directly contemplate the method. So when we're there, direct contemplation does not exclude appearances in mind. Those appearances, we used to say, they're ideas of thoughts. They're like a smorgasbord that arises in your mind. I don't know if people know what a smorgasbord is anymore. No, a buffet table of all sorts of different things that are arising in the mind. We don't cling to those at all. We just are there, and we're using direct contemplation and using mind absorption to stay with the method. And we don't muscle it. It's possible to muscle and exclude thought from mind, but this will end up in a dark samadhi where you're just turning off the lights. Nothing else is happening in that moment. When you hear click, click, ding, you open up your eyes, but nothing has happened in the meantime. There's no insight, no wisdom, no compassion, nothing that came from that. You just essentially turn the body off. But because of no insight, it's of no value. When we meditate in a proper way, there is insight that arises from that. Maybe it's such a tiny amount of insight, we may not notice it, but over time, the insight gets greater and greater. Maybe you can make a breakthrough, but I even hate to talk about that, because then people will be sitting there wondering when they're going to make a breakthrough. Don't sit like this. It's foolish. Please don't sit like that. And if I had a truth machine and I asked you all, how many have sat that way? I don't care if you didn't raise your hand. I know that you've done that. But don't do that, okay? You can't do that. Please don't practice in this way. You just have to sit. Boom. You see how easy it is. And what you do, at mentioned, we don't try to exclude thought, but we use discernment of the mind to see what should be there. So if you have the method that you're working on, and then a thought of something you're going to do that day or something that happened comes in, we discern when that is trying to crowd the method from center stage. I kind of refer to the center stage as being the object of your function when you're sitting is applying the method. It could be if you were painting a wall, the object of your attention would be painting the wall. Here, our object is to stay with the method. That's all that needs to be there. So the discernment is when we see something that wants to crowd in. How much time is left? What am I going to do afterwards? I'm hungry. My leg hurts. All these different things. They can be there. Just don't let them crowd center stage. This is the center stage is where you're performing your function. It's important to understand this. Very important, because otherwise, if you try to exclude the thoughts, then it is not true meditation. We hold the method like this very, very lightly. We don't try to give it too much attention. We don't want to just be there like looking at the method like that and trying to squeeze out the thoughts by doing that. We hold it with just enough attention that we can hold it and continuously. So we want to hold it continuously. We don't want it to break. We want to bring it back. If it breaks, bring it back lightly. We don't try to squeeze it tight. We understand that the mind energy is the fountain of all creations. It's where everything comes from. We think that we have this idea of that the mind, our mind creates the things. Look what I made. I made a little drawing or whatever it is. But all of that is created by mind. When we understand that, and again, going back to Pratika Samappada, if we practice and hold the method and we do it right, there will be an awakening. It will happen. You will use the meditation in the proper way. But if you sit there and do it the way you've been doing it for the last 10 years, 5 years, 20 years, you're just going to be like a hamster spinning that wheel in the cage. You're not going to be getting anywhere. Oh, you can get to the point where you can spin very well, but no, you're not going to get anywhere. So in today's vernacular, I would say it's like you were in some kind of an exercise spin class on your bicycle, and you're just spinning and spinning and spinning, but you never really got anywhere. Please don't practice like this. You have to elevate your practice, elevate your understanding of the doctrines of Buddha Dharma, so that when you sit, then you can practice in the right way. I want to switch for a moment. Okay. To talk about when we sit to meditate, we truly rest. We are there and we're resting in this present moment. Remember, the present moment is not something with something on this side and something on that side. It is the Buddha present moment, a different manner of perception. It's a perception from the omniscience of the Buddha mind. So in all directions, it's the present moment. And any time is the present moment. It's just this way. And because it's the Buddha mind, it contains all of these things in a non-temporal way. We cannot understand that. But the Buddha mind is able to perceive via the Buddha mind what I'm talking about. Now, saying that, I'm not saying I'm enlightened or awakened or the Buddha. All I know is the Buddha nature is just way. There was a term that I read early on, and again, I didn't know what I was studying. I was just reading things, and it actually came from the Dochen practice of Tibetan Buddhism, and the term is called Rigpa. Has anybody heard that term before? R-I-G-P-A, Rigpa. Anybody? I don't have sent this here today, but maybe not. But that's an important term. And anybody know what it means? Nobody?
Buddha nature.
Gilbert, I'd ask
awareness.
you, yeah, you said
Na-
walking in Chan.
Nature awareness. Nature awareness.
Okay, and then what did you say?
Nature awareness.
Yeah, this is an important term. It wasn't by accident that I ran into this, because I went, what does that mean? Resting in Rigpa. What is this Rigpa? And as I came to know it, this is how my understanding of how mind works. It was just an incredible understanding. And I was reading it. Actually, I was reading some today. I'm going, this is what I talk about all the time. And that we rest in the present moment. The Buddha's in the present moment. It is, remember when I said, you do not know the Buddha, but the Buddha knows you. It is this pristine, clear awareness, very, very incredible, a pristine awareness that's there. It is mind itself in that moment. Let me see if I can get to a definition of this, because it's important, because these things, now I know I told you I was going to show you how to meditate, but I guess I can't. I don't have the time, because that's really important when you sit there to meditate, how you can meditate. It is the knowledge of the ground. So it's the knowledge of the ground. How can you step from one step to another without knowing where you're walking? It has come to me pristine awareness. So what do I say? You have to have awareness when you're meditating. The awareness has to be there. And it's pristine awareness. It's not the awareness of like somebody goes, oh, you know, the person next to me farted, it smells so bad. Hacho, hacho, it smells so bad. No, it is just awareness that those things are happening. And if it's aware of the discriminating thought, so be it, because of habitual conditions. But it is in this way that is clear. It is devoid of the self. It understands the self arises in notions and being conceptual, but all that conceptualness appears nowhere else but mind itself. And this person, Eric Pema Konsong, said, he was talking about Rigpa and Ma Rigpa, M-A Rigpa. And he says, the unknowing is not knowing the nature of mind. When you sit to meditate, if you do not know the nature of mind, it's difficult for you to do anything. You're just on a carousel, just going around and around and around. When you know the nature of mind, it's infinite, it's expansive. So he says, knowing is the knowing of the original wakefulness. And that's important. Knowing is you're coming back home. You're coming back. There's an awakening there. Awakening that this was just a dream. And you have to see this, and you have to understand the world is a dream. We don't really like to hear that, because then we say, well, then what the heck is there that in terms of what's happening. What am I going to do? Another person was referring to, and I don't want to get into too much of the technical terms of the Tibetan school, but the reflexivity or self-aware primordial wisdom. This is the self-awareness, but the awareness by the mind itself, and seeing everything phenomenally that is appears upon mind itself. It doesn't have independent origination to it. So it says, thus wisdom is nothing other than Rigpa. And when it's saying wisdom is not other than Rigpa, wisdom is still on the phenomenal side. The self-awareness of mind has nothing to do with phenomenal wisdom. It is beyond phenomenal wisdom. That's why they talked about it as this Anyatara Samyak Sambodhi, this perfectly completed awareness of mind. This is the highest wisdom, is a wisdom without this attaching to a wisdom. Thus, wisdom, the analogy of Dzogchen masters is that one's true nature is like a mirror which reflects the complete openness, but is not affected by the reflections. It reflects with complete openness, but is not affected by those things. Like a crystal ball that takes on the color of the material which it is placed on without itself being changed. This is how we meditate. This is how we meditate. Like a crystal ball. We're just there. We're aware. Everything is there, and everything is absorbed into mind. It is not distinguished. If one has a desire for a piece of jewelry, shoes, a purse, a wallet, another person, whatever, all of those things are come and go, arise. But as they're arising, we see that they do not have any kind of a fundamental nature other than being phenomena reflected upon mind. So this is important. When we practice in this way, when we sit in this way, oh my gosh, it's different. We are not tied to all of these emotions that arise even when we're meditating. That's why we can't meditate, because we do not know the principles of mind. We don't know what we're doing on a cushion. We've got to understand that. We've got to set that platform there in order for it to work. If we don't do that, the meditation, you'll be very good, like Shifu said, your legs will be very practiced. And we'd come to the retreats, and Shifu would say, do you come here to practice your legs, or do you practice the Dharma? And so there were people that could sit in retreats, and so they still do. They sit like stone lions. But there's not this wonderful flowing reflexivity of mind itself that's present. Either they block themselves out, or they just look very good at not moving at all. And you go to San Francisco or LA, or probably wherever you're at, and they have the people that paint themselves like white or gray, and they stand there. And then people see them go, my gosh, look at them. He hasn't moved for the last 5 minutes. I'm going to give him $1. So if you want to practice to become one of those artists that can not move, then by all means use this meditation to do that, and you'll become a stone lion. You can go to San Francisco or LA or Santa Monica, and you can just sit there like a stone lion, wear a lion outfit, and you look like a statue. If you want to practice, you better listen. You better contemplate. This is what we're doing. We have to know what we're doing when we're sitting on a cushion. If we don't know that, we will not make progress. Of course, what I'm talking to you about is very good. Why? Because you have Buddha nature running in you. You have to have faith in what I'm saying to you. If you have faith and begin to contemplate, you'll be free from all of those things. Let me see if there was anything else on this. One of the people that talked about this translated Rigpas as gnosis, Gnosis, meaning that it is a direct realization. And it is in this way that this Rigpa is a direct realization, or we would call it an awakening to the nature of mind itself. That's it for that part. And that leaves me like 8 minutes to tell you how to meditate. Let me see if there's anything more I need. Okay. Now we'll get to, I've talked, like Ling Chi said, enough of this trashy talk. I will teach you how to meditate. Well, it's very, very simple. You know, you cross your legs, you put your right hand here, left hand, you form the thumbs, you sit, and you are in the present moment. The present moment, not your present moment. You bring up your method. Completely aware of everything in all 10 directions. Holding on to the method with this awareness. No thought other than the thought of the method. The body and the mind is relaxed. Very relaxed. It's resting. Just mind. Continuously. Just relaxed. Your eyes are a little bit open, looking up, a bit down, maybe in a 45-degree direction. Your face is relaxed, your body relaxed. Mind completely aware. Concentrated on the method, contemplating the method. Becoming more and more relaxed. Mind and body. Mind, let go of all mental impressions. Rest. Rest the mind in the present. Maintain awareness. The present has no locale. It's just mind. Don't let the mind stray or follow wandering thoughts. Relax. No thinking. Just this mind is mine. You made it. Untangle the mind. Becomes more brilliant, clear, at peace, at rest. No thinking. Ding. Back. You see how quiet it got? It got quiet all over the world. Wonderful. This is how you meditate. Now you can do this meditation all the time in the proper view, what's called right view. You will improve. You have to keep the practicing mindful. Angela laid out what the elements are for the meditation, irregardless of whatever meditation form you have. We laid that out. Now, this class was one for uh, meditation in general, not on Huatou, illumination, reciting the Buddha's name. All of these is important, what I've talked about over these last 3 sessions, so that you can practice in the proper way. It does you no good to understand how to do the Huatou or illumination if you don't understand the foundation of the practice. If you do not have that, then it's very, very difficult to practice. But with it, it's easy to practice because all you're doing is resting. Not bad. Whenever I sit to meditate, I go, wow, rest, clarity. When I get up, I take that clarity and rest with me, resting every moment in the present moment. Just resting. So the Tibetans, they had a good thing when they talked about resting in Rigpa, resting in the awareness. Because if not, it's living in the ignorance, which causes so much stress to us and to other people that we cause because of our inability to understand what mind is. Now you have a good shot at it. So please continue on. My kind of lament was maybe this class should have gone on for a few more sessions. But in any case, I think you've got the basics down. Okay, thank you very much. Omitofo.
So we'll open up for questions. Please raise your hand or you can post question on chat. So the first question is from Sue.
Yes, please.
It's me. So hi, thank you for your talk on meditation. I have 2 questions about enlightenment. So 2 questions. So first question is about you mentioned about timeless, the notion of timeless of meditation. So I'm wondering, so for enlightened people, so are they not bounded by space and time, or they just don't have the notion of space and time? And do they transcend space and time? That's my first question. And the second question is about the peace and the joy of meditation or enlightened people. So I'm wondering, so for enlightened people, what kind of joy or happiness or peace do they experience? So what kind of happiness they will experience when people are walking on the path of enlightenment? Yeah, that's my 2 questions. Thank you.
I am not enlightened, so I cannot tell you what enlightenment is. All I know is I'm a beginner, I'm a practitioner. And being able to rest the mind in the present moment makes a tremendous difference in your life and in the lives of the people around you, because you're able to harmonize with them. So the idea of trying to be outside time and space is a notion of the phenomenal world. In mind, because there is no time and space, it is different. But nevertheless, one makes a vow to return to the phenomenal world for the benefit of delivering illusory sentient beings, which seems very, very strange, but it can only be said in that way once one has a realization that this world is temporary. In terms of saying one would transcend to this or to that, I think that can become a trap suit, because if you practice in this way, then you'll be looking to try to find the door in which to exit the phenomenal world. It isn't in this way that we practice, but many people practice in this way. When we see things clearly, we understand what they had talked about, the gateless gate, that there is not a gate there, that one transcends from one to the other side. And if we transcend to it, then, you know, what is this phenomenal world? We understand, we awaken to the fact that this phenomenal world is temporary. And I always use, if you don't believe me, come back 100 years from now and we will have this discussion. It isn't in this way. We see things clearly, and we understand that there is sentient beings of an illusory nature that have this suffering, or they believe that they suffer, and they cause suffering, and they cause suffering to others. If it wasn't this way, this world would not be the way it is. And if this world was this way because of a God created it, my goodness, how could he be called a God creating such an imperfect world? He's an underachiever. So we cannot look at it this way. We see things in accordance with causes and conditions. The Buddha mind is there, but the Buddha, specifically, there's not a Buddha that created the world. It's created by mind in accordance with Pratika Samappada. When we see things this way, then we don't have to think about what does an enlightened person do, or what is this, because there is no such thing as an enlightened sentient being. It's just mind. The very mind that you use to ask this question is the Buddha mind. Where would you look for your mind? Just in the present moment. If you do that little by little, you will awaken to the self-nature of mind. This is what's so wonderful about it. Once you understand that and you sit to meditate, you will have no fear. You will have no confusion. You will be clear and you'll be able to rest. This is not bad. I only wish I could give you this moon. Okay, anyone else?
It's Lena at Michigan.
Lena. Hello, Lena.
Hi. So I just would like to invite everyone to Brother Gilbert's one-day retreat. It will be on Saturday, October 9th. I think it's about 2 weeks from now. And so the topic is how to meditate. So if you want to continue to learn meditation method with Brother Gilbert and put it in the practice, you are welcome to join, and it's free. The information I put in the chat, so you can click the link to know the schedule and the information. That's it.
Thank you. And that's true. So you can build upon this momentum that you have, because that one is going to be more practice than practical. We will talk about things and kind of discuss things, but it's going to be centered on how to meditate. The last 5 minutes of what I was talking about, you can try it out and see how it works. And if the wheels come off, then that's a great time for you to tell me what's happening, why the wheels came off in your meditation. So it's a perfect timing to hone your skills in terms of what you've learned today. So thank you. And Lena has been a practitioner for many, many years. And recently I've seen a deep broadening of her Buddha Dharma, and bodhicitta has always been there, but her understanding of the Buddha Dharma has really jumped a quantum leap. And so she runs a group in Michigan, very interesting group there. So if you want to come, please come and support that group as well. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next, Ingrid has a question on the chat. A mind of no local but being aware of the 10 direction is very profound. Oh, sorry, let me repeat. I think it meant a mind of no location, but being aware of the 10 directions is very profound. Does that mean our mind is one and everywhere and we are mindful all the time? Is that your question? Ingrid, do you want to explain yourself?
Yeah, that's my question. I feel very, I've been doing meditation for a while, and every time I listen to Gilbert, I feel like I'm doing everything that he said I'm not supposed to be doing. That's why I don't like meditation, but I still want to do meditation. I don't know why. Every morning I get up, it's a struggle. Do I have time? Okay, I have half an hour. Okay, maybe I'll do it. And then sometimes I go to the garden and water the plants, and I go, oh, this is much more fun than sitting down. So I'm not getting it. So just wonder if I keep on listening to Gilbert and be mindful of what he's saying, a mind of no locale, but you're aware of 10 locations, 10 directions. I think I'm kind of getting it slowly. But it's just that I think this talk really helps me in validating that the reason I don't like to sit down and I still want to do it is because I know now that I'm definitely not going to look at the time, not follow the thoughts, and just be with myself, the mind, just being aware I am the mind. I don't know. I'm sorry. This is the first time I ever talked, so I'm sorry. Maybe kind of a little bit more emotional, but thank you, Gilbert. I really enjoy your weekly talk. I've learned a lot.
Okay. Those are precisely the questions I want to hear from people, because they're honest and sincere. Keep practicing. It's frustrating. What I'm doing is trying to come in and say, okay, you're a sincere practitioner. Let's hone your skills. Let's get you a little bit clearer. So what happened to you is you got stuck on what's called a turning phrase. A turning phrase is all of a sudden something hits you like a bell, bing, and you go, what? 10 directions, what? And so that helps you. This is where you contemplate. When you get a turning phrase like this, you use it because it's so precious to do that and to try to see how to do that. I strongly recommend that you go to that Zoom retreat, because that'll give you the chance to practice and hone your skills. But because you're already a practitioner and you're sitting, now when you get these skills, your practice is going to improve dramatically. Very incredible that you have this kind of an improvement. And there's just simply this Dharma joy that comes with this, and this is good. So stay with it. Stay what you're doing. Use that turning phrase to look at this and see, okay, mind, we never thought about what mind is. We always thought mind is consciousness, but what if mind is the matrix of everything that appears, which it is. What then? And that my mind is not separate from that, but you never think about it from a viewpoint of I, just simply mine. And you can set Ingrid over to the side and just simply accept this mind and have faith. If you do that, there will be an osmosis. It will absorb your notions of self and ego. Okay, so very good.
Okay, thank you so much. I don't want to take up too much time. Just one last comment. I just remember you said your method is center stage. And then you let the other whatever thoughts, whatever, they're minor. So you can allow their existence or you don't pay attention to them, but you know what the center stage, who's the actor or actress, and you pay attention to that, right?
Yeah. And just use the word function. You just stay on whatever function you're at. So whether it's you talking right now or later on having lunch for you, no, whatever you do, cleaning your plate, everything is in a state of Chan. Okay.
All right. Amitofo. Thank you.
Amitofo. Okay, next.
Next is Robert. Also, Sue just posted Gilbert's Zoom class on Monday nights. So if anyone wants to join, and you can take down the information. So next one is Robert.
Yeah, just before Robert starts, that what I'm working on now is kind of a continuing one of discussing the main Chan sutras and how they connect to each other, giving a little bit of historical viewpoint on them, but also the practical part. And so it's kind of interesting. It just kind of kept going with more force, but you're welcome to come. Okay, go ahead, Robert.
All right, thank you, Gilbert. 4 years ago, you used the example of a transparent fish, and I've been contemplating it for 4 years, and that's why that picture behind me, and I didn't get it. And just now, as you explained about gnosis, and then you use the example of a crystal ball. While we are sitting, it kind of like thing is like, oh, a crystal ball reflecting everything in the background, but the crystal ball just letting anything pass through. Nothing stays. You just don't attach to it. You don't grab onto it. You know it, but you just don't touch it. It's like when you use that example, it's a pretty loud thing that I waited 4 years. And thank you very much.
What is the thing behind you? I can only see your head, but what?
The picture,
Yeah.
Michael shared that picture, and about a transparent fish. The picture is the fish. Everybody tends to see the black fish, but you don't see the gray fish, which is kind of like a transparent fish. The black fish is like the image, the thinking, the dream. But the transparent fish can be the crystal fish. You always use the transparent fish in the sea. And I've been contemplating that for 4 years. And I think I'm slowly getting it, and it will help me a lot in my sitting. It really does.
Yeah. The idea of the transparent fish means that we navigate within this world, just like and the Valkuteswara was coursing through the deep prajna paramita. The deep prajna paramita is just this moment. And we course through it like a transparent fish. So we don't try to leave too much of Gilbert there. What we want to do is leave the Dharma and leave harmony wherever we go. So Robert has had this turning phrase, Ingrid. So perhaps in 4 years you will find that if working with this, it might make some more sense. But you're in the right place and you're doing the right thing. This idea very important with Robert, because I have to keep tweaking him, and that's that. Don't lean towards the nihilistic side and think that the phenomena is not important. it does matter. Otherwise, I wouldn't have wasted my time talking to you about transparent fish. Okay, so always remember that part of the function of mind. Okay. Okay, anything else?
Thank you.
Welcome.
So- go ahead, Miranda. Did you say something? Okay, I just want to follow up when you said the apparent side, the phenomena side is also important. Can you explain why that is important?
Because in the mind, and this is a part I've been kind of working on, and contemplating myself, is that why should it be important to us? Why should we not just go with Robert's distinction that none of this is real, none of it, it's fundamentally empty, but there's an aspect that runs deep in the heart, which is bodhicitta. And as one begins to practice, it's an automatic function that arises. It's part of our vows that we generate, a vow to deliver innumerable sentient beings. And we have this there because it is a characteristic of mind. Even though the mind is said to be without characteristics or form, it is precisely the self-nature of mind, that it wants to alleviate the suffering, even if it's that someone is in a dream and it's a non-existent dream for a non-existent sentient being. There still is some dissonance in mind, and it's something that it wants to take care of. For instance, if one has a stomach, a bad stomach, and it does matter to the rest of the body, they may take some medicine, and even though it has nothing to do with the hands or the mouth, they prepare the medicine and send it to the stomach to let the stomach resolve the problem. And it's the same way as we have it. This Buddha body incorporates all phenomenal. So even though it's illusory, it nevertheless is some form of a illusory ignorance that's there, that's causing suffering, and so we want to take care of it. And so, of course, the Buddha mind will address those issues, even knowing that it delivered illusory sentient beings, but of self-nature, not selfish nature, the self-nature of mind. And so this is where your attention, Angela, should be on to contemplate this. This is a very, very good question that you brought up, and how we see that, and why should the phenomena be important. It's not like, everything's not real, so forget it, so-and-so is dying. Everything's impermanent, so forget it. No, one has an interest in taking care of people. One has an interest in alleviating their suffering, and knowing what to say to people. Even if it's in the phenomenal world, one is still presenting the seeds of practice in future lifetimes, knowing that it's just mind. When we see things in this way, our conduct comes in accord with mind. This is true bodhicitta. It sees things in this way, and it sees perhaps people are coming to you that you have given to them, transferred merit to them. Even if you transfer merit to them in the past, in the present, it's manifesting. And we see it in this way, not thinking of past, present, and future, just simply of resolving the issues. Matters not whether something happened and somebody fell in a battle in Waterloo, couple of 100 years ago, or were starved as a Roman, or used as a slave, or whatever, all those things are present in mind. And so the manifesting of transferring merit, even in this way, it transcends the idea, talking to Wu again, or Su, excuse me, that the other Su, the boy Su. Anyway, it transcends the idea of temporally things. So it's a completely different way of looking at things. And it's kind of something that I've kind of recently pierced in terms of a realization that I definitely want to share with everyone. And if you understand it, fine. If you don't understand it, it's okay. Later on, you will get it. If you don't get it this lifetime, come back around and I'll explain it to you again. But it's all right. But you may be here because I transferred merit in the past. So it's very interesting. It should give you a little bit of confusion, but some appetite to look into it.
Yeah, some confusion, I admit. But thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions?
One last question.
This is the last lecture of the series, so hopefully we can bring Gilbert back in the near future.
Yeah, I will come with something. This class is not your typical class. I went very profound in it, and it took me 2 classes to build up to be able to at least give you a chance to see this. So hopefully you can use this as a manner in which to practice with, because it's something that's very important. But again, if you do not understand it, don't worry. Okay, just keep practicing and meditating in the proper way. Pratika Samapada, there will be an awakening. Okay, so guarantee it if you practice hard. Okay, thank you very much.